every year, thousands of Americans are injured by wild animals, and a smaller but very real number never make it home. Not in some distant jungle, not on a safari thousands of miles away. In national parks, in backyards, in lakes and rivers you might swim in this summer. The United States is home to some of the most powerful, unpredictable, and dangerous animals on the planet. And many of them do not give a warning growl or a clear signal before they strike. By the time you realize what is happening, it is already too late to walk away. Today we are counting down 9 of the most dangerous animals in America, ranked by how real, how documented, and how sudden their attacks can be. Some of these are animals you already fear. Others might surprise you, because they are far more likely to hurt you than anything with teeth and claws. And when we reach number 1, you will understand why this animal is responsible for more violent encounters with humans than almost any other predator on this list, often when the victim never even saw it coming. Stick around for that one, because it is probably not what you expect. Before we get into the list, if you are enjoying this kind of content, take a second to subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel keep making videos like this one. And I would love to know. Drop a comment and tell me what part of the world you are watching from right now. Alright, let's get into it. Starting off at number 9, we have the American bison. It might seem strange to open a list about dangerous predators with an animal that eats grass, but the bison is not a predator, and that is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Bison are the largest land mammals in North America, with bulls regularly weighing over 2,000 pounds and standing around 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Despite that massive size, they can run at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, faster than most humans can ever hope to sprint. In places like Yellowstone National Park, bison are used to tourists, and that is the problem. Visitors see an animal that looks slow and docile, grazing peacefully a short distance away, and they assume it is safe to get closer for a photo. Bison do not see it that way. They are wild animals with a very small tolerance for people entering their space, and when that tolerance runs out, there is often no growl or bluff charge to warn you. Yellowstone has recorded numerous goring incidents over the years, many of them from tourists who approached within just a few feet of arresting or grazing bison. In several well-documented cases, people were tossed several feet into the air after getting too close, resulting in serious injuries. Park rangers consistently warn visitors to stay at least 25 yards away from bison, a rule that is broken constantly, and often with painful consequences. The lesson from the bison is simple. Size and calm behavior do not equal safety. And animals that seem indifferent to your presence can turn extremely fast. Moving to number 8, we head north into moose territory, particularly Alaska and parts of the northern United States. The moose is the largest member of the deer family, with bulls reaching weights of over 1,500 pounds and standing up to 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Unlike bears or big cats, moose are not hunting you, but that does not make them any less dangerous. In fact, in some northern states, moose injure more people every year than bears do. Moose become especially aggressive during 2 periods, the fall rutting season when bulls are competing for mates, and late winter into spring when cows are protecting their calves. A moose that feels threatened does not need much of a trigger. Ears pinned back, hackles raised along the neck, that is often the only warning you get before it charges. And when a moose charges, it does not bite or claw the way a predator would. It strikes with its powerful front hooves and can trample a person in seconds. One of the most well-known cases happened in Anchorage, Alaska in 1995, when an elderly man was fatally trampled by a cow moose on the campus of the University of Alaska Anchorage, after he and a group of students got too close to the animal and her calf. It remains one of the most cited moose attack cases in the state's history. And it is a stark reminder that an animal without fangs or claws can still be lethal. Wildlife officials in Alaska respond to moose-related incidents every single year, and their advice is consistent. If a moose's hackles go up, you should already be retreating. At number 7, we are looking at something much smaller but arguably far more frightening once it decides to attack. The Africanized honeybee, often called the killer bee. These bees were originally bred in Brazil in the 1950s in an attempt to create a more productive honeybee. But a number of queens escaped, and the resulting hybrid spread north through Central America and into the southern United States, arriving in Texas by the early 1990s. Individually, an Africanized bee sting is no more dangerous than a sting from any other honeybee. The real danger comes from their behavior in groups. Africanized bee colonies are far more defensive than typical European honeybees. They respond to disturbances faster, in far greater numbers, and they will chase a perceived threat for a much longer distance, sometimes for a quarter mile or more. A colony can be provoked by something as simple as a lawnmower vibration or someone walking too close to a hive, and once alarmed, hundreds or even thousands of bees can attack at once. In 1993, in Texas, an elderly man named Lino Lopez became one of the first recorded fatalities from an Africanized bee attack in the United States after disturbing a hive near his home. Since then, Africanized bee colonies have spread across much of the southern United States, from Texas and Arizona through to California and Florida. Beekeepers and wildlife officials warn that if you ever hear a loud buzzing sound and see bees pouring out of a cavity in a tree, wall, or the ground, the correct response is to run in a straight line and get indoors as fast as possible, not to stand still and swat. For our next entry, we move from the air to the ground, specifically to the grasslands, forests, and suburban edges of the southeastern United States, home to the eastern diamondback rattlesnake, our number 6 entry. This is the largest venomous snake in North America, capable of growing over 6 feet long and weighing up to 10 pounds, with a bite that delivers a large dose of highly destructive venom. What makes rattlesnakes particularly relevant to this list is not raw lethality alone, but frequency. Rattlesnakes as a group are responsible for the vast majority of the roughly 7,000 to 8,000 venomous snake bites reported in the United States every year. And the eastern diamondback is considered the most dangerous species due to both its size and the potency of its venom. Despite the name, rattlesnakes do not always rattle before striking. In many documented bite cases, especially when a person accidentally steps near or on a snake in tall grass, the strike comes with little to no warning sound at all, simply because the snake did not have time to coil and rattle before defending itself. Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas see regular encounters, particularly in rural and wooded areas where homes back directly onto natural habitat. Emergency rooms across the Southeast treat rattlesnake bites throughout the warmer months every year. And while modern antivenom has made fatalities rare compared to a century ago, severe bites can still cause lasting tissue damage. The core danger of the eastern diamondback is its camouflage combined with its willingness to stand its ground rather than flee, meaning the first sign of its presence is often the bite itself. If you are finding this list interesting so far, now is a great time to hit that subscribe button, because the 4 animals still ahead of us are significantly more dangerous than anything we have covered yet. At number 5, we head into the mountains and forests of the western United States for the mountain lion, also known as the cougar, puma, or panther depending on the region. Mountain lions are solitary, elusive predators, and that is precisely what makes them so dangerous. Most people never see one before an attack happens. An adult mountain lion can weigh up to 220 pounds and is capable of leaping distances of over 20 feet in a single bound. As an ambush predator, its entire hunting strategy relies on remaining unseen until the final moment, stalking prey silently and then launching a sudden, powerful attack, usually targeting the neck. Unlike wolves or bears, mountain lions rarely announce their presence with sound. One of the most well-documented mountain lion attacks in modern American history happened in 1994 near Auburn, California, when a woman named Barbara Sheener was killed by a mountain lion while jogging on a trail in the Sierra foothills. Investigators later determined the animal had ambushed her from above the trail, and the case became a turning point in how California managed its mountain lion population and public safety warnings. Since then, wildlife agencies across California, Colorado, Washington, and other western states have issued consistent guidance. If you encounter a mountain lion, do not run, since running can trigger its chase instinct, and instead make yourself appear larger and back away slowly while facing it. The unsettling reality is that for every confirmed encounter, wildlife biologists believe there are countless other instances where a mountain lion watched a hiker pass by and simply chose not to attack. Number 4 brings us to an animal found in forests across nearly 40 states, the American black bear. Black bears are the most widely distributed bear species in the country, and while they are generally less aggressive than their grizzly cousins, their sheer numbers and proximity to human communities make them responsible for a steady stream of attacks every year. An adult black bear can weigh anywhere from 200 to over 500 pounds, and despite their bulky appearance, they can run at speeds close to 30 miles per hour and are excellent climbers and swimmers. Most black bear encounters end without incident, but attacks do happen, and they are often triggered by a bear associating humans with food, or by a surprised bear reacting defensively at close range. One of the most widely reported cases in recent years happened in September of 2014 in West Milford, New Jersey, when a 22-year-old hiker named Darsh Patel was killed by a black bear while hiking with friends in the Apshawa Preserve. The case drew national attention because black bear fatalities are relatively rare in the densely populated northeastern United States, and it prompted New Jersey wildlife officials to reassess bear management policies in the years that followed. Black bears are generally described by wildlife experts as unpredictable rather than consistently aggressive, which in some ways makes them more dangerous since there is no single set of rules that reliably predicts how one will behave when it feels cornered or curious around a campsite. At number 3, we move into the swamps, rivers, and lakes of the southeastern United States, home to the American alligator. Alligators can grow to lengths of over 13 feet and weigh close to 1,000 pounds, with a bite force among the strongest of any living animal, generally estimated at well over 2,000 pounds per square inch. What makes alligators especially dangerous is their hunting method. They are ambush predators that can remain almost completely motionless and submerged, with only their eyes and nostrils visible above the waterline, before launching an explosive strike in a fraction of a second. Florida alone reports dozens of alligator bites every year, and while the vast majority are not fatal, a small number of tragic cases occur, particularly involving small children near the water's edge. One of the most widely covered incidents happened in June of 2016 at Walt Disney World's Grand Floridian Resort in Florida, when a 2-year-old boy named Lane Graves was pulled into a lagoon by an alligator while playing at the water's edge in the evening, despite the area not having posted no swimming signs at the time. The case led to sweeping changes in signage and barriers along Disney's waterways and renewed national attention on alligator safety near Florida's lakes and canals. Wildlife officials consistently emphasize that alligators are most active and most dangerous around dusk and dawn, and that the single biggest risk factor is simply being at the water's edge in alligator habitat without realizing an animal may already be watching from just below the surface. We are now entering the final two, and number 2 takes us to the western wilderness and the grizzly bear, one of the most powerful land predators in North America. An adult grizzly can weigh over 700 pounds, stand more than 8 feet tall on its hind legs, and run in short bursts at speeds up to 35 miles per hour, faster than a racehorse over a short distance. Unlike black bears, grizzlies are far more likely to respond to a surprise encounter with aggression rather than retreat, particularly a mother with cubs or a bear defending a food source. Grizzly attacks in places like Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, and throughout Alaska and Montana are relatively rare given how many people visit these areas every year, but when they happen, they tend to be severe. Precisely because the grizzly is powerful enough to overcome nearly any defense a person can offer. One of the most famous cases connected to grizzly bears happened in October of 2003 near Katmai National Park in Alaska, when wildlife filmmaker Timothy Treadwell and his companion Amy Huguenard were killed by a grizzly bear after years of Treadwell living in close proximity to bears in the region, a story that later became widely known through documentary film. Wildlife agencies across grizzly territory recommend carrying bear spray, making noise while hiking through dense brush, and storing food properly, because a grizzly that has been surprised at close range, especially over a carcass or with cubs nearby, can close the distance and attack within seconds, long before a person has time to react. And that brings us to number 1. The most dangerous animal on this list, the bull shark. Unlike many sharks that prefer deep, open ocean, bull sharks are unique in their ability to tolerate both saltwater and freshwater, which means they are regularly found not just along American coastlines in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic, but also far inland, in rivers, canals, and even lakes hundreds of miles from the sea. Bull sharks have been documented traveling up the Mississippi River as far north as Illinois, and they are known to inhabit rivers in Florida and Louisiana, where people swim, fish, and boat regularly, often without any idea a shark could be present. Adult bull sharks typically weigh between 200 and 500 pounds, and are known for one of the most aggressive temperaments of any shark species, along with a bite force considered among the strongest relative to body size of any shark in the world. What earns the bull shark the top spot on this list is exactly the theme we have been building toward this entire video. It attacks without warning, more consistently than any other animal we have covered. Because bull sharks often hunt in murky, low-visibility water close to shore, victims frequently never see the animal at all before or during the attack. One of the most well-known cases happened in July of 2001 near Pensacola, Florida, when 8-year-old Jesse Arbogast was attacked by a bull shark while swimming in shallow water just off the beach. An incident that received massive national news coverage at the time and brought widespread attention to bull sharks as a serious coastal threat, distinct from the more commonly feared great white. Researchers who study shark attack data consistently point to bull sharks, along with great whites and tiger sharks, as the species responsible for the most attacks on humans worldwide, and their comfort in the same shallow, murky coastal waters where millions of Americans swim every summer is exactly why they take the number 1 spot on this list. Lifeguards along the Gulf Coast often note that the conditions bull sharks prefer, warm, cloudy water close to shore, are often the exact same conditions that draw the biggest summer crowds, which is part of why encounters, while still statistically rare, tend to happen closer to popular beaches than most swimmers would expect. So there you have it. 9 of the most dangerous animals in America. Animals that live closer to us than most people realize, and that in many documented cases have struck with almost no warning at all. From bison in Yellowstone to bull sharks along our coastlines, the common thread running through this entire list is that danger in the wild rarely announces itself the way movies suggest it will. Of course, this list could easily look different depending on how you weigh frequency of attacks against sheer power, and animals like coyotes, wolves, or even venomous spiders could make a strong case for inclusion too. So I want to hear from you. Which animal do you think deserves a spot on this list that we left out, and how would you rank these 9 yourself? Maybe you would put the grizzly above the shark, or maybe you think a smaller, more common threat like ticks or venomous spiders belongs here instead. There is no single correct answer, and that is part of what makes this topic so endlessly debatable. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I am always curious to see how different this list looks depending on where in the country you live. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.